Listen to me. Everybody wants freedom to wake up when they want, to live how they want, to succeed how they want. But let me tell you the truth. Freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you feel. Freedom comes from holding yourself accountable to what you said you were going to do. You think accountability is a punishment. You think discipline is a prison. Well, I'm telling you, the real prison is living life with regrets. Living life knowing you could have done more, been more, achieved more, but you didn't because you refused to hold yourself accountable. Accountability is you saying, I owe me. Accountability is you waking up and remembering your dreams before you remember your excuses. Accountability is you checking yourself, correcting yourself, and pushing yourself without waiting for anybody else to do it. You want freedom? Freedom from stress, freedom from fear, freedom from average. Then listen to me. The moment you take full responsibility for your life is the exact moment you unlock your future. No more blaming your past. No more blaming your environment. No more blaming your family, your job, your friends, your circumstances. Winners don't blame. Winners don't complain. Winners don't point fingers. Winners look in the mirror, and the mirror becomes the mentor. The day you stop running from accountability is the day life stops running from you. When you hold yourself accountable, your results change. Your circle changes. Your confidence changes. Your whole life elevates. You want success, you want greatness, you want peace, you want peace. Then take ownership of your decisions, your actions, your habits, your mindset. Because accountability is not the enemy. It's the key that opens the door to your potential. And hear me, once you embrace accountability, nobody can stop you. Not fear, not failure, not doubt, not your past, not people. Because a person who takes ownership becomes unstoppable. So today, make a decision. Stop running from responsibility. Stop hiding from discipline. Stop negotiating with your goals. Stand up, own your life, grow through the pain, rise through the pressure. You want freedom. Earn it through accountability. Remember, accountability is not a burden. Accountability is the birthplace of freedom. Self-ownership is the starting point of success because nothing in your life truly moves, truly shifts, truly changes until you decide to take control of what you think, what you do, and who you become. Look, for years we've been taught to believe that life happens to us, that our circumstances define our possibilities, that our environment determines our success, that our past dictates our future. But I need you to understand something deep, something real. The moment you take ownership of your life is the moment your entire story changes. Ownership is not about blaming yourself. Ownership is not about guilt. Ownership is not about saying everything is your fault. It's about claiming your power. It's about recognizing that even if what happened to you wasn't your responsibility, what happens next absolutely is. People go through life waiting for the perfect time, waiting for permission, waiting for someone to rescue them, validate them, motivate them, or push them. But waiting is the slowest form of losing. When you wait, life passes, opportunities pass, years pass, and you look up one day and wonder why nothing ever changed. But the truth is, things don't change because you want them to. They change because you take ownership of them. Success is not an event, it's a choice. Thousands of choices stacked on top of each other. And every one of those choices begins with you standing in the mirror and saying, I am responsible for my life. I'm responsible for my effort. I'm responsible for my growth. I'm responsible for what I do next. People will hold on to excuses like life rafts, not knowing those excuses are the reason they're drowning. I didn't grow up with much. Nobody supports me. My family doesn't believe in me. I'm tired. I have no time. Things are just too hard right now. And I get it. Life can be unfair. Life can be heavy. Life can be painful. But excuses may comfort you for a moment, while ownership will change you forever. You can't reach greatness by protecting your limitation. You can't grow while holding on to the reasons you're not growing. When you blame the world, you give the world your power. When you blame your past, you let your past guide your future. When you blame others, you give them control of your success. But when you take ownership, full ownership, suddenly the power shifts back where it belongs. To you, ownership is freedom. It's freedom because once you accept that your life is your responsibility, you no longer have to wait for anything outside of you to change. You can change. You can move. You can push. You can start over. You can evolve. You can rebuild. You can become someone new without needing permission from anyone. Ownership says, I can't control what they do, but I can control what I do. Ownership says, I can't control what happened to me, but I can control how I respond. Ownership says, I don't need perfect conditions. I just need commitment. Most people don't struggle because they're incapable. They struggle because they refuse to accept how capable they truly are. They don't understand that power grows the moment you claim it. Some people wait for motivation. Ownership creates motivation. Some people wait for clarity. Ownership creates clarity. Some people wait for confidence. Ownership builds confidence. When you take ownership, you realize that progress doesn't come from feeling ready. It comes from starting anyway. You cannot lead a life you are unwilling to own. You cannot correct what you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot grow from what you keep blaming others for. Ownership requires honesty, brutal honesty. The kind of honesty where you admit the truth even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. You admit that you haven't been consistent. You admit that you haven't been disciplined. You admit that you've made excuses, wasted time, or avoided responsibility. And once you admit it, you don't drown in guilt. You use that truth as fuel. Ownership says, I see where I've fallen. Now watch me rise. Without ownership, success feels like a fantasy, something other people have access to, something you admire from a distance. With ownership, success becomes a direction, a path, a journey you begin walking with intention. You become a participant in your life instead of a passenger. You stop drifting and start directing. You stop hoping and start acting. Ownership transforms your mindset from a life is happening to me to life is responding to me. It's easy to blame circumstances because blame is comfortable. But comfort never builds character, strength, resilience, or greatness. Growth begins where excuses end. You don't get stronger avoiding responsibility. You get stronger by carrying it. You don't get wiser dodging challenges. You get wiser by facing them. Ownership is the foundation every success story stands on, every athlete who made it. Every entrepreneur who built something from nothing. Every student who rose from failure. Every person who transformed their life. They all have one thing in common. They own their journey. Ownership teaches you discipline because the moment you acknowledge that your habits are shaping your destiny, you become intentional about them. You stop waiting for someone to hold you accountable, and start accountable. You stop negotiating with laziness. You stop compromising your standard. You stop telling yourself for tomorrow and start saying now. When you take ownership, priority replaces procrastination. Ownership teaches you resilience because when you take responsibility for your own success, failure stops being the end of the story. Becomes information, feedback, guidance. Lessons. You don't quit because things get hard. You adjust, you adapt, you learn, you continue. Ownership doesn't eliminate challenges. It prepares you for them. It gives you the strength to say, I can handle this. I can overcome this. I can grow from this. Ownership teaches you humility. It reminds you that improvement is always possible, that you don't know everything, that you can always evolve. Humility doesn't weaken you. It frees you from pride that blocks your progress. Ownership and humility walk hand in hand because both require honesty, both require courage, and both lead to growth. Ownership teaches you self-respect because when you take responsibility for your actions, you develop pride in your decisions. You walk taller. You trust yourself more. You stop breaking promises to yourself. You stop letting yourself down. Every time you follow through, you build self-respect brick by brick. You become someone who can rely on yourself. And that kind of confidence is unshakable. Ownership teaches you clarity. You begin to understand what you want, who you are becoming, and what you need to do to get there. You stop wasting energy blaming people who can't fix your life anyway. You stop waiting for apologies from those who wronged you. You stop expecting the world to hand you anything. With ownership, you shift from reaction to purpose. You shift from complaining to creating. You shift from wishing to working. Ownership is the foundation of leadership. Before you can lead anyone else, your family, your team, your community, you must be able to lead yourself. You must be able to hold yourself accountable. You must be able to push yourself. Leaders don't need someone else to wake them up, motivate them, or check them. Leaders take ownership of their time, their energy, and their life. And the beautiful thing about ownership is this: it's accessible to everyone. You don't need money to own your effort. You don't need a degree to own your attitude. You don't need a perfect background to own your mindset. Ownership is a choice that requires nothing but honesty and commitment. The moment you say, my life is my responsibility, everything open. Opportunities open. Growth opens. Your future opens. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and stop being the architect of your destiny. You stop seeing limitations and start seeing possibilities. You stop being controlled by what you cannot change and start mastering what you can. Ownership is the first step, the foundation, the spark, the beginning of every transformation. You cannot create a new life while clinging to the old excuses. You cannot step into power while holding on to blame. You cannot build freedom while rejecting responsibility. Self-ownership is the starting point of success because success requires commitment, consistency, courage, and character, and none of those grow without ownership. When you finally take responsibility for your life, you give yourself permission to change it. That is freedom. That's power. That is the beginning of everything you want to become. Excuses delay your freedom because every time you choose an excuse, you choose to stay exactly where you are. You choose to pause your progress. You choose to postpone your growth. You choose to lock the doors to your own potential. And most people don't even realize they're doing it. They think excuses protect them, comfort them, shield them from the pain of responsibility. But what they don't understand is that excuses are invisible chains. Chains that feel soft but keep you stuck. Chains that feel harmless but slowly steal your future. An excuse is not just a sentence. An excuse is a decision. It is a decision to settle instead of striving, to stop instead of starting, to wait instead of working. You can't grow if all your energy goes into justifying why you're not growing. And hear me clearly, excuses don't show up to help you. They show up to rob you. They steal your discipline, your drive, your time, your confidence, your dreams. Every day you spend explaining why you can is a day you lose from building what you can. People make excuses because excuses feel good in the moment. They feel safe. They let you escape accountability for a little while. But excuses have a cost, and that cost is your freedom. Freedom doesn't come from avoiding responsibility. Freedom comes from taking control of your life. Freedom comes from choosing effort over excuses. Freedom comes from showing up even when you don't feel like it. Excuses tell you, I take the easy way, but in reality, the easy way is always the longest way. You save comfort today, but you pay with your dreams tomorrow. Let me tell you why excuses are so dangerous. They disguise themselves as logic. They sound reasonable. They sound justified. They sound believable. I'm too tired, but I don't know how to start. The timing isn't right. People don't support me. I've tried before. I'm scared. And because excuses feel true, people treat them like truth. But excuses might feel real, but they are not results. You don't get success from what sounds true. You get success from what you do consistently. You have to understand that excuses don't come from your potential. They come from your potential said. Your potential said. Your fear says, oh, wait. Your potential says, oh, wait. Your fear says, oh, late. That is the real battleground. Not outside, but inside you. Freedom comes when you stop letting fear speak louder than your purpose. Every excuse you make strengthens fear. Every action you take strengthens your purpose. If you study people who made it, people who broke cycles, built empires, transformed their lives, you'll notice something. It wasn't that they had fewer problems. It wasn't that they had better support. It wasn't that they had more time, more money, or more confidence. It was that they refused to let excuses be bigger than their goals. They had reasons to quit, just like you. They had obstacles, just like you. They had fear, doubt, and setbacks, just like you. What made them different was their ability to look at an excuse and say, not today, not anymore. When you choose excuses, you postpone your breakthrough. You delay your growth. You push your blessings further into the future. You slow down the person you could be. You trap yourself in the same patterns, the same routines, the same frustrations. And instead of moving forward, you start circling the same spot. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, over and over again. Excuses keep you running in place. Working, but not progressing. Wanting, but not acting. Dreaming, but not becoming. The truth is, excuses always seem small in the moment and massive in the long run. Skipping one workout seems small, but skipping for a year becomes a lifestyle. Avoiding one difficult conversation seems small, but avoiding communication destroys relationships. Putting off one project seems small, but delaying your goals becomes a habit. One excuse may not ruin your life, but the repetition of excuses absolutely will. A single raindrop is harm, but a storm of excuses can flood your entire future. You need to understand that the freedom you want, financial freedom, emotional freedom, spiritual freedom, personal freedom, all of it requires one thing: responsibility. When you take responsibility, you take power. When you stop making excuses, you stop giving your power away. And the moment you stop giving your power away, your life begins to transform. You wake up with purpose. You wake up with clarity. You wake up with confidence because you trust yourself again. Most people don't realize how much excuses drain them. They drain your energy because deep down, you know you're capable of more. And pretending you're not is exhausting. You know you could do better. You know you were made for more. You know you're not giving your full potential. And when your actions don't match your ability, something inside you breaks a little. Excuses create internal conflict, the battle between who you are and who you could be. And nothing feels heavier than the weight of unfulfilled potential. Excuses don't just delay your freedom, they delay your peace. You cannot feel proud of yourself while running from your responsibilities. You cannot feel strong while protecting your weaknesses. You cannot feel confident while choosing comfort. True peace comes from effort, not avoided. Peace comes from progress, not procrastination. Peace comes from knowing you're moving forward, not standing still. Everyone has excuses. The successful, the unsuccessful, the wealthy, the broke, the motivated, the unmotivated. Everyone has reasons they can use to justify quitting. The difference is that successful people recognize that excuses are optional. Effort is optional too. But only one of them creates the life you want. The world does not stop you. People do not stop you. Circumstances do not stop you. Excuses stop you. Every time you must get comfortable being uncomfortable. Growth happens outside excuses. Freedom lives outside excuses. The life you want, the life you dream of, is on the other side of difficult choices. Excuses protect you from discomfort. But discomfort is where your transformation happens. It's where your strength comes from. It's where your greatest lessons come from. It's where your breakthroughs come from. You have to decide that your goals mean more to you than your excuses, because they can't coexist. Either your excuses win or your future wins. Either your comfort wins or your growth wins. Either your fear wins or your faith wins. Every day you get to choose. Every morning you wake up with the opportunity to say, "And today I'm choosing effort. I'm choosing discipline. I'm choosing progress. I'm choosing accountability." And I want you to really think about this. What has an excuse ever given you? Has an excuse ever brought you success? Has an excuse ever given you confidence? Has an excuse ever made you proud? Has an excuse ever made your life easier in the long run? The answer is no. Excuses give you nothing but regret. They give you nothing but missed opportunities. They give you nothing but the same results you've always had. But when you stop making excuses, life responds differently. Doors open. People notice. Your mindset shifts. Your energy changes. Your results begin to reflect your effort. Excuses are the enemy of momentum. They stop you right before the breakthrough. Many people quit not because they're incapable, but because they let one excuse interrupt their progress. They let one moment of weakness outweigh months of work. But if you learn to push through the moment when excuses scream the loudest, you will find that the other side is where real freedom lives. Freedom is expensive. It requires discipline, sacrifice, consistency, and courage. Excuses are cheap. They require nothing but your dreams as payment. And when you really understand that, you realize that choosing excuses is choosing to pay with your own potential. You owe your future self more than that. You owe your dreams more than that. You owe your purpose more than that. You are not meant to live a life controlled by fear, procrastination, or avoidance. You are meant to live boldly. You are meant to live powerfully. You are meant to rise above your excuses and step into the fullness of who you can become. Excuses delay your freedom, but effort delivers it. Action delivers it. Responsibility delivers it. You cannot control everything in life, but you can control your response. And that response determines your reality. The moment you say no more excuses is the moment your real life begins. That is when doors open. That is when confidence builds open. That is when momentum starts. That is when your life stops repeating and starts expanding. You have everything within you to become the person you dream of being. The only thing standing in your way is the story you keep telling yourself about why you can't start yet. Change the story and you change your future. Release the excuses and you release your potential. Let go of delay and you step into destiny. Your freedom is waiting. Stop delaying it. Your words shape your direction because every sentence you speak is either building your future or breaking it. People underestimate the power their own tongue holds. They don't realize that the most influential voice in their life is not the voice of their parents, their friends, their teacher, their boss, or society. The most influential voice in your life is the one you hear every day in your own mind, your own words. What you tell yourself becomes what you believe. And what you believe becomes how you behave. And how you behave becomes the results you experience. Your entire life follows the direction of your mouth, like a compass follows north. Words are not just sounds. Words are seeds. Every time you speak, you are planting something in your mind, in your heart, in your spirit. You're planting confidence or doubt, strength or weakness, fear or faith, persistence or hesitation. And the harvest you get depends on the seeds you plant. You cannot plant negativity and expect a positive life. You cannot plant fear and expect courage. You cannot speak defeat and expect victory. Your words are the blueprint of your mentality, and your mentality is the blueprint of your life. People talk themselves out of success long before life does. They say, I can't, and their mind shuts down the moment the words leave their mouth. They say, I'm not good enough, and their potential begins to shrink. They say, I'll never be successful, and their belief collapses. When you speak words of limitation, you start living a limited life. And the worst part is this. You start believing those limitations so deeply that you begin to defend them. You begin to protect your excuses. You construct entire identities around what you claim you cannot do. You will never rise above the story you keep repeating to yourself. If you keep telling yourself you're a failure, you will behave like one. If you keep telling yourself you're broken, you will never heal. If you keep telling yourself you're unlucky, you will stop creating opportunity. Because your mind always wants to align your actions with the narrative you believe. And if your narrative is weak, your actions will be weak. If your narrative is fearful, your actions will be fearful. If your narrative is negative, your actions will reflect negativity. But if your narrative is strong, if your words are powerful, your entire life begins to move with momentum. If you say, I can grow, suddenly growth becomes possible. If you say, I can change, your brain starts searching for ways to change. If you say, I will succeed, your mind begins filtering out distraction and focusing on solutions. Words create direction. Words create energy. Words create belief. And belief fuels everything. You have to be careful with what you speak because you are listening. Every day you are programming your mind with the language you choose. Your words are instructions to your subconscious. When you say, I'm tired, you feel more tired. When you say, I'm stressed, your body tightens. When you say, I can't take this anymore, your mind starts shutting down. But when you say, I've got this, something wakes up inside you. When you say, I will find a way, your creativity activates. When you say, I am built for this, your resilience rises. You cannot speak like a victim and live like a warrior. You cannot speak like a loser and win. You cannot speak doubt and walk in confidence. What comes out of your mouth eventually becomes the reality you step into. The wrong words can trap you. The right words can free you. Think about the difference between someone who says, someone who says, I get to. One person feels burdened. The other feels blessed. Same situation, different words, completely different energy. Words shift your perception, and perception determines your experience. Life feels different when you speak differently. Some people speak so negatively about themselves that they become their own worst enemy. They don't need anyone else to criticize them. They do it themselves. They don't need anyone else to discourage them. They discourage themselves. They don't need anyone else to tear them down. Their own words do the job. And what happens is they become prisoners to their own tongue. Their speech becomes a cage. You must become intentional with your language. You must become aware of the sentences you create. Because once spoken, your words create pathways in your brain. If you say something often enough, your mind starts believing it's the only truth. And once your mind accepts something as true, your behaviors follow without resistance. Think of professional athletes. They don't just train their bodies, they train their language. They speak confidence before they perform. They speak belief before they step on the field. They speak power before they compete. Because they understand that performance comes from the inside out, not the outside in. You cannot win externally if you are losing internally, and your words are the first battle you fight. Every transformation in life begins with a change in language. You have to stop saying I'll try, because trying gives you an escape route. You say I will. You have to stop saying I'm broken, because broken pieces can still build something beautiful. You say I'm he. You have to stop saying I'm not enough. You say I'm growing. I am learning innate. I am getting better. The language you use daily becomes the identity you live with. If you always say that's just who I am, you limit your growth. If you always say, things never work out for me, you subconsciously sabotage your prize. If you always say, I'm unlucky, you stop noticing opportunities that are right in front of you. Your life doesn't change when your situation changes. Your life changes when your vocabulary changes. Your future depends on the words you choose. Your mindset is built on the words you repeat. You cannot change your destination without changing your dialogue. Words can build bridges or walls. Words can open doors or close them. Words can drag you backward or pull you forward. You choose which direction they take you. You must begin speaking with intention, purpose, strength, and clarity. You speak what you want, not what you fear. You speak what you're becoming, not what you're struggling with. You speak possibilities, not limitations. Speaking positively is not ignoring reality. It is creating the mindset you need to overcome reality. When you speak the right words, you create inner momentum. And momentum is the most powerful force in personal growth. The right words help you take the next step, and the next step, and the next step. Soon, you start seeing progress. And progress creates belief, and belief creates discipline. And discipline creates transformation. Everything begins with your words. Imagine two people start the same journey. One said, I'm not sure I can do this. But the other says, watch me. They might have the same ability, but they don't have the same direction. One is moving toward doubt. The other is moving toward dominance. One is shrinking. The other is rising. All because of words. Your words determine whether you give up or get up, whether you break down or break through, whether you stay the same or evolve, whether you walk in fear or walk in purpose. You cannot lead a powerful life with powerless language. You cannot achieve big goals with small words. So choose better words. Speak life over yourself. Speak strength over yourself. Speak progress over yourself. Speak success over yourself. Speak gratitude. Speak gratitude. Speak healing. Speak potential. Speak purpose. Speak the future you want until your actions begin to match your beliefs. Your mouth is steering your life like a ship. Every phrase is a turn of the wheel. Every sentence a shift in direction. You can speak yourself into circles, or you can speak yourself into your destiny. You can speak yourself into peace, or you can speak yourself into anxiety. You can speak yourself into confidence, or you can tear yourself apart. You have to decide what direction you want to go, and then you must speak in alignment with that direction. Because your words are not just sounds, they are commands. Commands to your mind, commands to your mind, commands to your emotion, commands to your actions. The world might doubt you. People might underestimate you. Situations might discourage you, but none of those voices matter as much as the voice inside you. If your inner voice is strong, nobody can stop you. If your inner voice is weak, nobody can save you. Strengthen your voice, strengthen your vocabulary. Speak with intention, speak with purpose, speak with fire, speak with conviction. Because when you change the way you speak, you change the way you speak, you change the way you think. When you change the way you think, you change the way you act. And when you change the way you act, you change your entire life. Your words shape your direction. And the direction you choose determines the future you create. There comes a moment in life when you realize that the world is not going to slow down for you, not even for a second. The dreams that once felt distant, unreachable, or even impossible begin to whisper to you, reminding you that they were never beyond your reach. You simply hadn't stretched far enough. And in that moment, you have a choice. You can keep blaming the world, your circumstances, your environment, your past, or your lack of resources. Or you can decide that today is the day you rise. Today is the day you take ownership of every inch of your life. The fourth keynote is about the shift that happens when a person decides they are done living small, done hiding from their gifts, done postponing their greatness for one day. Because the truth is, one day is not coming unless you create it. Nobody's going to give you permission to become who you were born to be. You have to seize it. Most people never succeed. Not because they don't have talent, not because they don't have potential, and not because they don't have opportunities. They fail because they let fear, doubt, distractions, and excuses drain the power that was meant for their purpose. They let their environment dictate their future. They let temporary comfort sabotage long-term greatness. They sit in rooms full of people who don't challenge them, conversations that don't elevate them, and habits that don't move them forward. They settle. They shrink. They compromise. They choose the familiar over the extraordinary, and they wake up years later wondering why nothing changed. The truth is simple. Your life does not change until you change what you tolerate. There is a part of you that knows you are capable of so much more. You feel it when the world gets quiet. You feel it when you watch someone else living the life you want. You feel it when you look at your own reflection and something inside you whispers, "This is not the best you." But you silence that voice because it's uncomfortable. Because if you acknowledge it, then you must do something about it. And doing something requires effort, courage, sacrifice, and discipline. It requires waking up earlier, studying harder, pushing further, and cutting off anything that weakens your energy. It requires you to stop playing victim and start playing victor. It requires you to stop being reactive and start being intentional. It requires you to stop waiting for motivation and start mastering consistency. Transformation isn't a gift someone gives you. It's a battle you fight within yourself. If you want to rise to your next level, you must understand that the journey won't feel good at first. Growth rarely does. The process will test you. It will stretch you. It will strip away all the layers you built to protect your insecurities. You will lose people who are comfortable with the older, smaller version of you. They will say you've changed, and you have. But that is the point. You cannot expect to become extraordinary while clinging to ordinary habits, ordinary surroundings, and ordinary thinking. The highest version of yourself is not created in your comfort zone. It is created in moments of pressure, discipline, sacrifice, and relentless commitment. Your future self is begging you to stop playing small. Every dream demands a price. Every goal requires payment in full, upfront, with no discount. The universe does not accept laziness as currency. It does not accept excuses, fear, or self-pity as substitutes for effort. If you want freedom, you must earn it. If you want success, you must chase it. If you want greatness, you must bleed for it. It's not enough to want it. You must be willing to work for it when it's hard, when it's inconvenient, when you don't feel inspired, and especially when nobody is watching. Because the real work happens in the dark, behind closed doors, when the world is asleep, and you are grinding on your future like your life depends on it. That is where champions are built. That's where legacies are born. Anybody can work hard for one day. Anybody can feel motivated for a week. Anybody can get excited when things go well. But only a few will keep going when the excitement fades, when the applause stops, when the progress feels slow, when the results are not visible yet. The ones who keep going those days, those are the unstoppable ones. Those are the people who rise above the rest, because consistency compounds. Little efforts performed daily become massive achievements over time. Success is not a lightning strike. It is a slow burn. But most people quit before the fire catches. They underestimate the power of daily discipline because they want instant results. They want applause before they master the craft. They want the reward without the responsibility. But that is not how greatness works. You don't get to skip the grind. If you truly want to transform your life, you must begin by transforming your mindset. Your mind is the engine, and your life is the vehicle, if the engine is weak, the vehicle won't move no matter how beautiful it looks on the outside. You can dress well, talk well, act confident, but if internally you still doubt yourself, still fear failure, still believe you are not enough, you will sabotage your own progress. Your thinking creates your reality. Your thoughts become your decision. Your decisions become your habits. Your habits become your results, and your results become your life. Change begins within. You must begin telling yourself a new story, a story where you are capable, a story where you are worthy, a story where you don't quit, a story where you rise no matter how many times you fall, a story where you own your journey. Every victory, every mistake, every lesson. You must stop living in the memories of who you were and begin living in the vision of who you are becoming. You cannot drag your past into your future and expect elevation. What held you back then cannot be the blueprint for your life now. Reinvention is not betrayal. It is evolution. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, not the ones who entertain you, flatter you, or keep you comfortable. You need people who push you, question you, provoke your greatness, and force you to aim higher. You need rooms where you are not the smartest, not the strongest, not the most successful, because those rooms are where growth happens. If you are always the biggest one in the room, you have stopped growing. Seek environments that stretch your mind, strengthen your discipline, and elevate your standards. Protect your energy like it is currency, because it is. Where focus goes, your future grows. One of the greatest lessons of this keynote is understanding the value of time. Time is not money. Time is more valuable than money because you can get money back, but you can get money back, time back. Every hour you waste is gone forever. Every day you spend procrastinating is a day stolen from your dreams. Every moment you choose comfort over purpose is a moment you can never recover. The clock is ticking whether you are working or not. You do not have forever. You do not have endless chances. You have now. And now is the only moment powerful enough to change your life. Use it wisely. You must also learn to embrace failure, not fear it. Failure is not a sign that you are unworthy. It is proof that you are trying. It is feedback. It is instruction. It is refinement. Every great person you admire failed repeatedly. They failed publicly, privately, painfully, but they kept going. They learned. They adapted. They grew. They understood that failure is a teacher, not an enemy. The only real failure is quitting. Everything else is progress disguised as difficulty. When you stop fearing failure, you become dangerous, because nothing can stop a person who is willing to try again. The fourth keynote reminds you to honor your future self with the choices you make today. Do the work that your future self will thank you for. Build habits that strengthen you. Choose discipline over excuses. Choose purpose over pleasure. Choose growth over comfort. Choose persistence over quitting. Choose to become the version of yourself you once believed was impossible. Every step you take toward your purpose rewrites your destiny. And finally, understand this. Your dream is waiting for you, but it will not wait forever. If you do not move, someone else will. If you do not claim your vision, someone else will step into the space that was built for you. The opportunity is real, but it requires action. It requires courage. It requires sacrifice. It requires belief. The world is not asking you to be perfect, just present, just committed, just willing to do the work. Your time is now. Rise. There comes a point in your journey where you must confront the truth that has been quietly shaping your life. The truth that you are the only one responsible for where you are and where you will go. This keynote speaks directly to that moment of realization. It is the moment you stop blaming the world, stop pointing fingers at circumstances, stop waiting for someone to save you, and understand that your life will change only when you decide to take full ownership of it. Ownership is not a word you say, it is a lifestyle you live. It is a mindset that refuses excuses. It is a commitment to stop negotiating with laziness, fear, and old habits. It is the moment you draw a line in the sand and say, enough. From today forward, my life is my responsibility. Most people never rise, not because they lack ability, but because they lack accountability. They want success, but they don't want the responsibility that comes with it. They want elevation without discipline, rewards without sacrifice, and progress without discomfort. They want to move forward while keeping all the old habits that hold them back. They want growth, but they don't want to uproot the behaviors that keep them small. They want transformation, but they don't want to release the identity they've gotten comfortable with. So they stay stuck, not because they're incapable, but because they're unwilling to confront the truth that growth demands change. You cannot hold on to who you were and expect to become who you are meant to be. This keynote reminds you that you must take inventory of your life. You must look at your habits, your mindset, your surroundings, your routines, your relationships, and your attitude with honesty, not emotion. Ask yourself, are these things helping me grow or holding me back? Are they empowering me or draining me? Are they building my future or destroying it? Many people fear this level of self-awareness because it exposes the uncomfortable truth that their biggest opponent isn't the world, it's themselves. But once you face that truth, you unlock the power to change everything. Self-honesty is the first step to self-mastery. The people who rise to greatness are the ones who decide that they will no longer be prisoners of their past. They no longer allow old mistakes, old environments, or old identities to define their future. They understand that the past is a place of reference, not residence. Your past teaches you, but it should never control you. Once you accept responsibility for your life, you reclaim your power. You begin to understand that you are not stuck. You are simply not moving. The moment you move, the moment you act with intention, everything begins to shift. One of the core messages of this keynote is that you must stop waiting for the perfect moment. There is no perfect moment. The perfect moment is now. Waiting for conditions to be ideal is the quickest way to let your life pass you by. The people who rise are not the ones who wait. They are the ones who start. They start when they are scared, when they are confused, when they don't have all the answers, when the path is unclear, when the support is inconsistent, and when the future feels uncertain. They don't wait for confidence, they build it through action. They don't wait for motivation. They create it by moving forward. They don't wait for things to be easy. They develop strength by doing hard things. There is a mindset you must embrace if you truly want to elevate. The mindset of relentless responsibility. This means you own your successes and your failures. You own your progress and your setbacks. You own your habits and your lack of discipline. You own your effort, your focus, your time, and your growth. You stop blaming your family, your friends, your past, your boss, your circumstances, or your environment. You stop saying, I can't, and start asking, how can I? You stop saying, it's hard, and start saying, it's possible. You stop saying, I don't have time, and start saying, I will make time. This shift in language becomes a shift in mindset, and that shift in mindset becomes a shift in your life. The fifth keynote emphasizes that greatness is not an accident. It is not luck. It is not a gift given to a special few. Greatness is the natural result of consistent discipline. If you change your habits, you change your life. If you change your decisions, you change your direction. If you change your standards, you change your destiny. Every day you either move closer to your purpose or further away from it. There is no neutral. Every choice is a vote for the person you want to become or the person you want to leave behind. Most people fail not because they are weak, but because they are inconsistent. They work hard for a week and disappear for a month. They show up when it's convenient, not when it's necessary. They only perform when they feel good, not when it's required. But the people who rise are the ones who keep showing up. They show up tired. They show up overwhelmed. They show up discouraged. They show up unsure. They show up even when they don't feel like it. Why? Because they are committed, not interested. Interest gets started. Commitment keeps you going. Interest wants results quickly. Commitment works patiently. Interest fades. Commitment endures. To reach your next level, you must be willing to break cycles that have been holding you back for years. Cycles of procrastination, cycles of fear, cycles of distraction, cycles of negativity, cycles of self-sabotage. You cannot overcome what you are unwilling to confront. Every cycle you break becomes a door you open, a door to a new identity, a door to a new level of discipline, a door to a new level of focus, a door to a new level of success. But you cannot walk through a new door with old habits. You must be willing to let go. Let go of excuses. Let go of self-doubt. Let go of laziness. Let go of anything that competes with your purpose. The fifth keynote also reminds you that isolation is sometimes necessary for elevation. You cannot grow in the same environment that kept you small. You cannot rise while surrounded by people who have no desire to rise themselves. You cannot become disciplined while surrounded by people who encourage distraction. You cannot become focused while surrounded by people who live without direction. It is okay to outgrow people. It is okay to distance yourself. It is okay to choose peace over chaos, purpose over comfort, and vision over popularity. Your future requires separation. Greatness demands sacrifice. Another powerful truth from this keynote is that pain is part of the process. You will be uncomfortable. You will be challenged. You will face setbacks, doubts, and emotional battles. But pain is not your enemy. Pain is your teacher. Pain reveals where you need to grow. Pain strengthens your resilience. Pain builds your character. Pain exposes your weaknesses so you can strengthen them. Pain shapes your identity. The people who rise are not the ones who avoid pain. They are the ones who learn from it. They are the ones who let their challenges refine them, not define them. You must also understand that progress is not always visible. Just because you don't see results doesn't mean nothing is happening. Seeds grow underground before they appear above the soil. Your efforts, your discipline, your late nights, your consistency, they are all working, even when you don't see it yet. Trust the process. Trust that every small step matters. Trust that every day you show up, you are building something powerful. Success does not happen suddenly. It happens silently, gradually, and then all at once. The keynote reminds you to stop comparing your journey with others. Comparison kills progress. Comparison kills joy. Comparison kills focus. Your journey is your own. Your timing is your own. Your pace is your own. Stay in your lane. Water your own grass. Build your own foundation. Honor your own process. What is meant for you will never pass you as long as you stay committed. Finally, the fifth keynote teaches you the truth that must stay with you for the rest of your life. You are capable of more than you think. You have strength you haven't used yet. You have potential you haven't tapped into yet. You have greatness waiting inside you, but it requires courage to unleash it. It requires discipline. It requires sacrifice. It requires responsibility. Nobody can rise for you. Nobody can walk your path for you. Nobody can build dream for you. This is your life, your journey, your purpose. And it is waiting for you to step into it with full commitment. Everything you want is on the other side of responsibility. Everything you desire is on the other side of discipline. Everything you dream of is on the other side of the work you've been avoiding. Stand up, decide, act, commit, rise. There comes a moment in every person's life when they recognize that the people around them are either pushing them forward or pulling them backward. The sixth keynote is a deep reminder that your circle has the power to shape your destiny, influence your mindset, and determine the level of success you will rise to. You cannot expect to live a high-level life while surrounding yourself with low-level energy. You cannot expect discipline, ambition, and elevation when your environment is built on excuses, negativity, and mediocrity. The truth is simple. Your circle must match your standard. You cannot reach greatness if the people closest to you are comfortable staying average. You cannot cultivate a winning mindset when you're surrounded by people who don't value growth. You cannot unlock your highest potential while connected to people who are committed to staying in the same place. People often underestimate the power of influence. Influence doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it comes in the form of small comments, small habits, small decisions. Sometimes it looks harmless. Sometimes it feels normal. But over time, it shapes you without you even noticing. If you surround yourself with people who avoid responsibility, you start avoiding responsibility. If you surround yourself with complainers, you start complaining. If you surround yourself with people who waste time, you start wasting time. You pick up the habits, the language, the mindset, and the energy of whoever you spend the most time with. This is why the sixth keynote teaches you that growth requires awareness of who stands beside you. The people in your life will do one of two things. They will either push you toward your purpose or pull you away from it. There is no in between. If the people around you don't inspire you, challenge you, or elevate you, then they are lowering your standards. Many people stay stuck not because they lack talent, but because they are surrounded by the wrong crowd. They stay small because their circle thinks small. They avoid growth because their circle avoids accountability. They downgrade their dreams because their circle has no dreams of their own. You must be courageous enough to break away from people who no longer reflect the direction you are trying to go. There is a painful truth that this keynote reveals. You cannot grow while trying to please everyone. You cannot rise while trying to make sure nobody feels uncomfortable with your elevation. You cannot chase your purpose while holding on to people who fear change. Some people will get angry when you start evolving. Some will distance themselves when you begin prioritizing discipline over distractions. Some will criticize you when you start focusing on your goals. But understand this, people who are threatened by your growth were never meant to grow with you. Your elevation exposes their lack of movement. Your progress challenges their comfort zone. But none of that is your responsibility. Your responsibility is your own growth. Your vision will not fit in the minds of small thinkers. Some people cannot support you because they cannot see what you see. That does not mean the vision is too big. It means the circle is too small. You must protect your dreams from people who lack belief. Protect your goals from people who do not value discipline. Protect your mindset from people who choose excuses over effort. The people you allow into your life become the architects of your environment, and your environment becomes the architect of your future. Many people fail to reach greatness because they stay loyal to the wrong relationships. Loyalty is a beautiful trait, but loyalty to unproductive, negative, or destructive people will cost you your peace, your time, your purpose, and your destiny. You cannot build a successful future while holding on to people who are committed to their past. You cannot evolve while surrounded by people who fear evolution. You cannot step into a new identity while surrounded by people who only respect the old version of you. Growth requires separation, and separation is not betrayal. Separation is alignment. Separation is alignment. Separation is clarity. Separation is saying, I love you, but I must grow. The sixth keynote also highlights the importance of being around people who challenge you. Not everyone who agrees with you is your friend, and not everyone who challenges you is your enemy. You need people who call you out when you're slipping, not people who enable your excuses. You need people who push you to rise, not people who are comfortable watching you fall. You need people who inspire discipline, not people who normalize laziness. You need people who talk about ideas, growth, strategies, and goals, not people who talk about gossip, drama, and distractions. Your circle should make you uncomfortable in a good way. They should elevate your standards, not accommodate your weaknesses. You must seek relationships that build your future, not relationships that remind you of your past. Look for people who dream big, who work hard, who take responsibility, who show consistency. Look for people who live with intention, who value growth, who aim higher, who speak life into their goals and into yours. When you surround yourself with people who operate at a high level, you naturally start elevating. Their mindset becomes your mindset. Their habits motivate your habits. Their discipline influences your discipline. Their energy becomes a standard that you feel compelled to match. One of the biggest lessons of this keynote is understanding that you cannot grow without boundaries. You must be intentional about who you let into your life. You must learn to say no, not out of anger, but out of wisdom. You must protect your time, your peace, your focus, and your energy. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves your attention. Not everyone deserves your loyalty. Your future is too valuable to be shaped by the wrong people. You must be selective because the people around you determine how high you ride or how low you fall. There is also a powerful message in this keynote about outgrowing people. Outgrowing someone does not mean you think you are better than them. It means you are no longer willing to limit yourself to match their comfort zone. It means you have decided to pursue growth, even if they decide not to. It means you are choosing purpose over familiarity. Growth is uncomfortable because it demands that you step away from anything that keeps you small. But it is necessary. If you stay in environments that don't challenge you, you will shrink. If you surround yourself with people who don't push you, you will settle. If you keep accepting low standard, you will live a low standard life. Some relationships will only serve you on certain chapters of your life. Just because someone was good for you then does not mean they are good for you now. Just because someone walked with you in the past does not mean they are meant to walk with you into your future. Recognize when a chapter has ended. Recognize when a connection has expired. Recognize when it is time to release someone so you can rise. Holding on to wrong people will block the right opportunities. Holding on to the wrong relationships will drain the energy needed for your purpose. Holding on to the wrong environment will keep you from becoming who you are meant to be. The sixth keynote also speaks about the importance of becoming the kind of person you want in your circle. You cannot expect loyalty, discipline, ambition, and positivity if you do not embody those qualities yourself. You must be the example you want to attract. If you want disciplined people around you, be disciplined. If you want focused people around you, be focused. If you want motivated people around you, show motivation. If you want supportive people around you, be supportive. You are. Level up your character, and you will naturally attract the right circle. Finally, this keynote teaches you that your future is too important to be shaped by the wrong influences. You must take responsibility for your circle. You must guard your environment. You must choose elevation over familiarity. You must choose purpose over comfort. You must choose growth over stagnation. Your circle must match your standards. You determine your destiny. Your standards determine your destiny. Your future depends on the people you allow into your present. Choose wisely. Protect your energy. Build your tribe. And surround yourself with people who remind you of where you are going, not where you've been. There's a truth every person must eventually confront. Progress is impossible without discipline. Not the kind of discipline that comes and goes depending on how you feel, but the kind of discipline that becomes a lifestyle, a non-negotiable standard, a way of thinking and living that keeps you aligned with your purpose, even on the days when motivation is nowhere to be found. Discipline is the quiet force behind every breakthrough. It is the engine behind every transformation. It is the reason some people elevate while others remain stuck. It is not glamorous. It is not loud. It does not always feel good, but it is the foundation on which real freedom is built. Many people say they want success, but they don't understand that success is not something you chase. It is something you build through daily habits. It is shaped in the small, invisible decisions you make when nobody is watching. It is created in the moments you choose effort over excuses, purpose over comfort, and progress over procrastination. Most people are waiting for a big moment to change their life, but real transformation comes from the consistent application of small disciplines repeated daily. Those disciplines eventually stack up, shaping your identity, your mindset, and your destiny. Discipline is not about perfection. It is about consistency. It is about showing up again and again, even when you are tired, stressed, overwhelmed, or unmotivated. It is about doing what needs to be done, not what you feel like doing. Feelings are temporary. Emotions fluctuate. Motivation fades. But discipline remains. Discipline is what turns dreamers into doers, intentions into action, and goals into achievements. Without discipline, ambition is just a wish. Without discipline, purpose is just an idea. Without discipline, potential remains locked inside you. You must understand that discipline requires sacrifice. It requires letting go of who you were so you can become who you need to be. It requires turning down distractions that used to entertain you, breaking habits that used to comfort you, and distancing yourself from environments that used to consume your time. It requires becoming intentional with your hours, strategic with your energy, and protective of your focus. The life you want is on the other side of decisions you've been avoiding. Discipline is the bridge that takes you there. People often talk about wanting a better body, a better lifestyle, a better career, a better mindset, a better future. But improvement is not possible without discipline. You cannot have a strong mind with weak habits. You cannot have a healthy life with unhealthy decisions. You cannot build a stable future with unstable routines. You cannot reach high-level goals with low-level effort. The distance between where you are and where you want to be is not measured in miles. It's measured in discipline. Every time you choose discipline, you are investing in your future self. You are casting a vote for the identity you want to build. You are reinforcing the mindset you want to live with me. You are sharpening the skills you want to master. Every disciplined decision becomes a brick in the foundation of your future. Your life is being built moment by moment, choice by choice. And the reality is clear. Your future is a reflection of your habits. One of the main reasons people struggle with discipline is because they rely on motivation. Motivation is unreliable. It is emotional. It is inconsistent. It disappears the moment life becomes stressful, difficult, or inconvenient. Discipline has nothing to do with how you feel. Discipline is rooted in commitment, not emotion. You wake up and do what needs to be done because you made a promise to yourself. That promise becomes your anchor. That promise keeps you grounded. That promise keeps you moving, even when the journey becomes overwhelming. There will be days when you won't feel strong, days when you won't feel inspired, days when doubt creeps in, days when the obstacles seem too big. These are the days discipline becomes your greatest weapon. These are the days that separate the committed from the interested, the determined from the distracted, the focused from the inconsistent. Discipline is the force that keeps you going. Motivation has left the room. You must also understand that discipline exposes your weaknesses. It shows you where you lack consistency, where you fall into temptation, where you procrastinate, and where your habits contradict your goals. This might feel uncomfortable, but it is necessary. You cannot fix what you refuse to face. Discipline forces you to examine your life, your patterns, and your choices with honesty. It forces you to ask hard questions. Are my habits supporting my goals or sabotaging them? Am I living with intention or just reacting to life? Am I in control of my choices or are my impulses controlling me? Oh, once you commit to discipline, your entire identity begins to shift. You start thinking differently. You start valuing your time more. You become more aware of your thoughts, your actions, and your environment. You stop seeking validation and start seeking validation and start seeking improvement. You stop choosing what is easy and start choosing what is necessary. You stop living on autopilot and begin living with purpose. This internal transformation is what leads to external success. Discipline also teaches you resilience. It teaches you how to push through discomfort, how to endure challenges, how to persist through setbacks. When you practice discipline daily, you train your mind to handle pressure. You develop the strength to keep going when things get hard. You develop the grit needed to overcome obstacles. You become mentally unstoppable. Life becomes less about circumstances and more about choices. Most people underestimate how powerful small daily actions can be. They want overnight success, instant results, immediate progress. But real growth is slow, steady, and sometimes invisible. You might not see the results right away. You might feel like your effort is not paying off, but discipline is never wasted. Every step matters. Every action counts. Every day of effort builds something inside you that cannot be taken away. And then one day, the results appear suddenly, but they were built silently. You must also eliminate distractions if you want to strengthen your discipline. Distractions are enemies of focus. They steal your time, drain your energy, and weaken your consistency. Whether it is social media, negative people, unhealthy habits, or mindless entertainment, you must learn to say no. You must learn to prioritize. You must learn to protect your attention because focus is currency. Whatever you give attention to grows. If you give your attention to distractions, distractions will grow. If you give your attention to discipline, your life will change. The path to discipline also requires patience. Progress takes time. Mastery takes time. Transformation takes time. The world is full of people who started strong and quit early. Not because they couldn't succeed, but because they couldn't stay consistent long enough to see results. Discipline means staying committed even when progress feels slow. It means trusting the process even when you cannot see the outcome yet. It means understanding that consistency compounds. You must realize that nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's going to drag you to excellence. Nobody's going to walk the path for you. This journey requires personal responsibility. You must take charge of your habits, your discipline, and your daily routines. Your life is your responsibility. Your growth is your responsibility. Your future is your responsibility. The moment you embrace this truth is the moment you reclaim your power. Discipline is the highest form of self-respect. When you discipline yourself, you are telling your future. You are telling your goals, I am serious about you. You are telling your purpose, I am committed to you. That level of self-respect becomes the foundation of your confidence. It becomes the source of your strength. It becomes the reason you rise while others settle. Your destiny will not be shaped by wishful thinking, by hopes, or by intentions. It will be shaped by your discipline, by your habits, by your daily decisions. Every day you are either moving closer to the person you want to be or further away. You decide, you choose, you create the life you live. Through discipline, you gain freedom. Through discipline, you gain control. Through discipline, you gain power over your future. When you choose to live with responsibility, you begin to understand you are not just reacting to life, you are shaping it. This shift changes everything. It changes how you wake up, how you work, how you talk to yourself, and how you confront the truth you've been avoiding. It pulls you out of the mindset that life is happening to you and places you in the mindset that life is happening because of you. And once you truly adopt this mentality, excuses no longer feel natural. Blame no longer gives you comfort. You stop looking outward for someone to save you, and instead, you turn inward and discover that the person you have been waiting for has been you all along. Responsibility is not a burden, it's a liberation. It frees you from being controlled by circumstances, opinions, and emotions. When you know that you are the one steering the ship, storms no longer scare you the same way. Yes, they shake you. Yes, they challenge you, but they no longer control your direction. You start making decisions not based on fear, but based on purpose. You start acting not out of desperation, but out of intention. You begin to understand that every choice, every habit, and every action is a vote for the future you want to build. Many people think that avoiding responsibility protects them. They think that if they don't take ownership, they can't be blamed. If they don't claim the dream, they can't fail. If they don't try, they won't look foolish. But the truth is, avoiding responsibility is the very thing that keeps them trapped. It keeps them stuck in situations they hate. It keeps them repeating patterns that destroy their confidence. Keeps them living a life that feels predictable, small, and controlled by everything except their own decisions. And the saddest part is, most people never realize that the cage was never locked. They just never tried opening the door. Taking responsibility changes the conversation you have with yourself. Instead of saying, "Oh, this is just how things are," you start asking, "What can I do to change this?" Instead of saying, "I can't catch a break," you begin saying, "How can I create a better opportunity?" Instead of saying, "It's not my fault," you start asking, "Ooh, what part of this can I own?" Those questions are uncomfortable at first. They confront you. They challenge your pride. They make you look at your weaknesses, your habits, and your patterns, but they also empower you in a way that nothing else can. Because once you identify your part, you can change your part. And once you can change your part, you can change your outcome. That's the power most people never claim. They talk about wanting success, growth, confidence, and peace. But they don't want the responsibility that creates those things. They want the reward without the ownership. They want the breakthrough without the accountability. But life doesn't work that way. Growth is always tied to responsibility. Every time you level up, it's because you took ownership of something you used to run from. Responsibility also reshapes your relationships. You stop expecting others to carry the emotional weight that belongs to you. You stop blaming people for not supporting you in ways you never communicated. You stop holding grudges for things you allow. You begin setting boundaries instead of building resentment. You begin expressing needs instead of assuming people can read your mind. You begin choosing connections based on mutual respect instead of emotional dependency. Suddenly, your relationships become healthier, stronger, and more honest. Not because everyone changed, but because you did. And the freedom that comes from that is unbelievable. When you stop expecting the world to read your mind, save you, or fix you, you stop being disappointed all the time. You stop feeling abandoned. You stop feeling misunderstood. Because now you are steering the emotional wheel. Now you are responsible for your peace. Now you are the one creating clarity. Responsibility eliminates chaos because it forces direction. Even changes how you handle failure. When you live without responsibility, failure feels like a personal attack. It feels like proof that you're not enough. But when you live with responsibility, failure becomes feedback. It becomes data. It becomes a mirror showing you where to adjust, refine, or improve. You no longer fear failure because you know you can recover. You know you can rebuild. You know you can learn. You know that setbacks don't define you. Your response does. That mindset alone sets you free from the fear that controls most people's lives. Responsibility also strengthens your discipline. Once you stop lying to yourself, you stop allowing yourself to live below your standards. You begin keeping promises to yourself the same way you keep promises to others. You start showing up even when you don't feel like it. You start pushing through resistance because you understand your progress depends on your consistency, not your mood. And once you build that kind of self-trust, your confidence becomes unshakable. Not loud, not arrogant, but steady, grounded, and earned. Another form of freedom responsibility gives you is the freedom from regret. Most people live with heavy regret, not because they made the wrong choice, but because they never made a choice at all. They waited too long. They hesitated. They overthought. They let fear negotiate their future. But when you take responsibility, hesitation loses its power. You act when it's time to act. You speak when it's time to speak. You try even when you're scared. You pursue even when you're unsure. You start realizing that action will always teach you more than waiting ever will. Responsibility also frees you from comparison. When you take ownership of your journey, you stop obsessing over other people's timeline. You stop measuring yourself against someone else's situation. You stop feeling behind just because someone else looks ahead. Instead, you focus on your own growth, your own path, your own improvement. And there's nothing more liberating than no longer needing validation from people who don't live your life. Ultimately, responsibility transforms your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone trying to fix everything and start seeing yourself as someone capable of building anything. You stop telling stories about why things didn't work and start writing things didn't work and start writing new stories about how things can work. Responsibility makes you the main character of your life. Not the victim, not the passenger, not the background figure, but the one who decides the direction, the pace, the mission, and the meaning. And when you reach that point, something powerful happens. You realize that responsibility is not a chain. It is a key that unlocks your potential, a key that unlocks your courage, a key that unlocks your courage, a key that unlocks your discipline, your greatness, your voice, and your purpose. A key that gives you access to the life you've been dreaming about, the life you've been capable of, the life that only becomes possible when you stop waiting and start owning. Because the truth is simple. The moment you take responsibility is the moment you become free. As we close this message, understand this truth at the deepest level possible. Everything you want, everything you dream of, everything you believe you were designed for becomes possible the moment you decide to take full ownership of your life. Not partial responsibility, not selective ownership. Not responsibility just when it feels convenient or comfortable. I'm talking about total accountability, the kind that demands honesty, courage, discipline, and intention. The kind that forces you to confront who you've been so you can rise into who you must become. When you look back at your life, you'll notice something powerful. Every breakthrough you ever had happened after a moment of truth, a moment where you stopped running, stopped blaming, stopped waiting, and finally took control. And the season you struggled or stayed stuck was a season where you avoided responsibility. That's the pattern of life. That's the pattern of growth. And the sooner you embrace that truth, the sooner everything starts to shift in your favor. Owning your life doesn't mean everything becomes easy. It means everything becomes possible. It means you stop being paralyzed by circumstances because you know your decisions matter more. It means you stop allowing your past to control your present because now you are consciously choosing your future. It means you stop giving your power away to emotions, to excuses, to people who don't understand your journey, to fears that no longer serve you. When you take accountability, you snatch your power back from every place you ever left it. You stop being a passenger in your life story and start being the author. And that changes the entire narrative. Accountability forces you to rise. It pulls out strength you didn't know you had. It awakens discipline you thought wasn't in you. It builds confidence from the inside out. It creates a character so strong, even storms begin to respect you. Because storms come for those who are unprepared, but they can't break someone who has committed to taking responsibility for their direction, their effort, their actions, and their growth. One of the greatest gifts accountability gives you is clarity. When you stop lying to yourself, you finally see where you truly stand. You stop pretending things are fine when they're not. You stop sugarcoating the hard truths. You stop wasting effort on the wrong thing. Instead, you start addressing the areas that need change. You start focusing on the habits that matter. You start giving energy to the goals that align with your purpose. That clarity alone can change the whole trajectory of your life. Because when a person knows where they are and knows where they want to be, the path between those 2 points becomes clearer. And accountability is the bridge that takes you across. And understand this, accountability isn't about perfection, it's about intention. It's about refusing to hide behind excuses. It's about being willing to say, I can do better, and then actually doing better. It's about understanding that failing is human, but refusing to take responsibility is what keeps people stuck for decades. Growth doesn't come from pretending you're flawless. Growth comes from owning what's real and committing to being better tomorrow than you were today. And the moment you make that commitment, you release yourself from the prison of shame, doubt, guilt, and regret. Because responsibility doesn't punish you, it frees you. It breaks the chains that have kept you repeating the same cycles year after year. It removes the weight of blaming others, the weight of waiting for perfect condition, the weight of hoping someone else will rescue you. Once you accept that you are the one who must act, who must push, who must rise, you stop waiting and start living. A life built on accountability is a life built on power. You walk differently. You speak differently. You think differently. You think differently because now you understand that your choices shape your reality. You don't need applause to stay focused. You don't need permission to be great. You don't need validation to move forward. Accountability becomes your compass and purpose becomes your fuel. And that internal shift creates external results. Your work improves. Your consistency grows. Your relationships become healthier because you're no longer expecting people to carry emotional baggage that belongs to you. Your dreams become clearer because now you are actively pursuing them instead of just talking about them. You stop living life on accident and start living life on purpose. And the world responds to that version of you. Opportunities begin to appear because you are prepared to recognize them. Relationships become more meaningful because you bring integrity instead of excuses. Success becomes more predictable because you are putting in the kind of effort that actually leads to progress. Life stops feeling chaotic because you're no longer living without direction. You're living with intention. But above everything else, accountability gives you inner peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from avoiding problems, but the kind that comes from knowing you're facing them. Not the kind of peace that comes from comfort, but the kind that comes from alignment. The kind that comes from looking in the mirror and liking who you are becoming. That peace is priceless, and it only comes when you take ownership of every area of your life. So as you walk away from this message, don't just feel inspired, feel responsible. Don't just feel motivated, feel committed. Don't just feel empowered, feel accountable. Let this be the moment you draw a line in the sand and decide that from this day forward, you're done giving your power away. You're done waiting. You're done living small. You're done hiding behind excuses. You're done letting fear negotiate your future. This is the moment you rise. This is the moment you take back control. This is the moment you decide that accountability is not your burden. It is your freedom. Because when you take full ownership of your life, you unlock the version of yourself you were always meant to become. You step into your strength. You step into your purpose. You step into your greatness. And once you do that, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that can stop you.